Okay, once again, good afternoon all. So in the previous lecture, we have discussed the definition of the shear stress, shear strain. Then we have discussed the important concept related to the all the elastic constants, their important definitions, their important formulas. Then we have discussed about the two deformation formulas, that is deformation due to the external load and deformation due to the self-weight. And then at the end, we have discussed about the stress strain curve for the ductile material, that is mild steel, and the stress strain curve for the brittle material as a glass material. And in that particular two stress strain diagrams, we have discussed all the important things related to the importance of each and every point, which portion indicate what information, that also we have discussed. Also importance of all the points, how it is useful for your examination, based on which point the question will be asked based on the objective questions, that also we have discussed. Now we'll discuss about the last theoretical point related to this particular chapter, which is also very important, that is thermal stresses or the thermal stress conditions. Up till now, whatever the number of points we have covered, it is totally related to the body, and that body subjected to the external load. Now we have seen the definition of stress, then strain, then shear stress, shear strain. Then we have seen there is a possibility of change in volume. Also, we have seen there is a deformation, that is delta L due to the external load, delta L due to the self-weight. In all those particular conditions, what assumptions we have made, that is that particular member or that particular body is subjected to the external load. Means if external load is applied on the body, then and then only there is a possibility of deformation, stress, strain, change in volume, like this. But in case of a thermal stresses concept or thermal stress condition, here it is not required to apply the external force on the body. It is not required to apply external force on the body. Here, your member or that body is comes in contact with the temperature, then due to the increase in temperature and due to the decrease in temperature, there is a possibility to develop the thermal stresses, or it is also called as a temperature stresses. If the thermal stresses are induced, then there is a possibility of thermal strain also. There is a possibility of thermal deformation. But here I am not applying any kind of external load. It may be tensile, it may be compressive. Not a single load I am applying here. Here, that body is comes in contact with the temperature. The temperature may be sometimes increases, temperature may be sometimes decreases, and due to that increasing or decrease in temperature, there is a possibility of development of thermal stresses, thermal deformation, and the thermal strain. So for that purpose, here I have taken the example. Here you can see, here one body is there, the first figure. Here one body is there or one rod is there. That rod is fixed at the left side and the another end is free. It is fixed at left side and another end is free. Its length will be considered as a capital L. Okay. Now here this body is not in contact with the temperature. Now if there is an increase in temperature, suppose at the bottom side or this particular total rod, if it is comes in contact with the temperature, okay, if it is comes in contact with the temperature, then what happen, the expansion of body is taking place from L to delta L. You can see here in the second figure. This is the second figure, this is the first figure. In the figure number 1, no expansion is taking place because body is not in contact with the temperature. But after some time, if the temperature is given to this particular rod, the expansion of rod is taking place and that expansion is represented by the delta L. But what happened here in this particular second figure, there is no any thermal stress will be developed. There is no any thermal stress will be developed. There is a possibility only thermal deformation. There is a possibility of only thermal deformation, means there is a possibility of only thermal strain, because deformation term is correlated with the strain. It is not correlated with the stress. The force, it is correlated with the stress value, but whatever the deformation, whatever the elongation is taking place, that deformation or elongation is correlated with the strain. Therefore, in the second figure, there is a possibility of thermal deformation only, but here there is no any thermal stress will be developed. But exactly opposite, when this rod is subjected to the external load, जर ह्या रॉडवर जर मी एक्सटर्नल लोड अप्लाय केला तर त्या लोडमुळे that body tends to deformation also, body tends to strain also, and body tends to some amount of stress also. म्हणजे एकाच लोडमुळे स्ट्रेस पण येणार आहे, स्ट्रेन पण येणार आहे आणि त्याचं डिफॉर्मेशन होणार आहे. बट इन केस ऑफ ए थर्मल स्ट्रेस कंडिशन, इफ टेम्परेचर इज increases or decreases, there is a thermal deformation. But if that rod is fixed at one side only and another end is free, in a such condition, no thermal stress will be developed. Only there is a thermal deformation or the thermal strain. So this is the condition number one. Now at the bottom side, again the same rod I have considered as a figure number 3. Same rod I have considered. In that the rod is fixed at the left side, the rod is fixed at the right side. That means at the both sides the rod is fixed, and now I will give the temperature. Again some amount of temperature will be given, due to which there is no any thermal deformation taking place. You can see in the figure number 4, as the rod is fixed from the both sides, there is no any thermal deformation. You can see there is no any thermal deformation, but there is a possibility of thermal stress. Means I can say that the thermal stresses will be developed when there is a restriction to the deformation. When thermal stresses are developed, if there is a restriction to the deformation, then and then only there is a possibility of thermal stress development. But due to the increase in temperature or due to the decrease in temperature, if expansion of rod is taking place, at that time there is a possibility of thermal deformation only, but no stresses are developed. म्हणजे जोपर्यंत आपण त्या रॉडचं एक्सपान्शन थांबवत नाही तोपर्यंत त्या रॉड मध्ये किंवा त्या बॉडीमध्ये कुठल्याच प्रकारचा थर्मल स्ट्रेस डेव्हलप होत नाही. जर एक्सपान्शन होत असेल तर त्याच्यामध्ये फक्त थर्मल डिफॉर्मेशन असणार किंवा फक्त थर्मल स्ट्रेन असणार. जर आपण त्या रॉडचं जर डिफॉर्मेशन पूर्णपणे रिस्ट्रिक्ट केलं, म्हणजे तो कुठल्याच साईडला एक्सपांड जर होत नसेल तर त्या ठिकाणी तुमचं डिफॉर्मेशन झिरो होणार आहे, पण त्याच वेळी त्या रॉडमध्ये एक प्रकारचा थर्मल स्ट्रेस पण काय होणार आहे, डेव्हलप होणार आहे. सो दिस इज टोटली अपोजिट दॅन body subjected to the external load and body subjected to the temperature change. So this is related to the conditions which are used in the thermal stress concept. Please keep in mind, if there is a expansion, there is only thermal deformation, no stress. If there is no any expansion, at that time there is no any deformation, but there is a thermal stress in the body. So this is related to the thermal stresses condition. Now again here I have explained the same things. That is in the figure number 1, you can see here the one rod is there which is fixed at the left side, that is at point A it is fixed and point B is totally free. If this body comes in contact with the temperature, or if this rod comes in contact with temperature, deformation is possible, indicated by delta L. Means this body or this bar is free to expand. This body or bar is free to expand, means there is only thermal deformation, no thermal stress. But now in the second figure, the rod is fixed at point A as well as it is fixed at point B, and now if it comes in contact with the temperature, there is a restriction to the expansion. That means bar is constrained. There is a no deformation, no expansion. Now here there is a possibility of development of thermal stresses. So these are the two conditions which are very, very important to solve the numericals based on the thermal stress concept. In the statement of the problem itself, they are mentioning the condition whether body or rod is free to expand or rod is not free to expand. Accordingly, we have to choose that condition, and accordingly we have to use their respective formula, and we have to find out the solution. Okay, so these are the thermal stress concept. Now here if I have to calculate the thermal stresses, it is not possible to use the formula sigma is equal to P upon A, because in the thermal stress concept, we are not applying the force as a capital P. So force upon cross-sectional area, that formula will not be applicable here in the concept of thermal stress. So another formula is there. So for that purpose, we have to understood some of the constant parameters. Let us see here. L is the original length of the body or the rod. T is called as a rise in temperature or fall in temperature. Sometimes temperature is increases from 10 degrees Celsius to 50 degrees Celsius. In some of the application, temperature decreases from 80 degrees Celsius to 20 degrees Celsius. But whatever the increase in temperature or fall in temperature is there, it is indicated by the small t, or sometimes it is also indicated by the capital T. Then alpha is the coefficient of thermal expansion. It's similar to the Young's modulus. We are using Young's modulus E, modulus of rigidity D, or G, or bulk modulus K, where the body is subjected to the external load. That Young's modulus E, G, K, we are using that constant parameters in the calculation when body is subjected to the external load. But in the thermal stresses, no load is there. So instead of that particular Young's modulus E, we are using this alpha as a coefficient of thermal expansion. It represents the thermal expansion of that particular material. Whatever the material comes in contact with the temperature, that material is having this particular alpha value, and it is constant, which will be mentioned in the problem statement. Then if I have to calculate the increase in length or decrease in length, then change in length will be indicated by delta L. So delta L is equal to L into alpha into T. Delta L is equal to L into alpha into T. So this is the deformation. Okay. Then we are having the strain definition value. What is the strain? Change in dimension upon original dimension. So change in dimension will be indicated by delta L. Original dimension means original length. It is indicated by the small l. So delta L already I have calculated, that is L into alpha into T divided by L as it is. So this L, it will get cancelled. So strain value becomes only alpha into T. So this is the strain value. But what is my requirement? I have to calculate the stress value. So we are having one formula, that is capital E is equal to sigma upon strain. Capital E is equal to sigma upon strain, or stress upon strain. So already I have calculated the strain value. What is the strain value? Alpha into T. E is the constant parameter. So what I have done, I have written the formula in the form of sigma, that is sigma TH. Sigma TH represents the thermal stress is equal to strain into Young's modulus. So put the value of strain, alpha into T, keep E as it is. So thermal stress formula is equal to alpha into T into E. So that T can be represented by delta T. Sometimes it is represented by the capital T. But we are having the final thermal stress formula is equal to alpha into T into E. And by using that formula, I can calculate the thermal stresses induced in the rod if there is a possibility of increase in temperature or the decrease in temperature. So this is the thermal stress formula. So I request all of you take or note down this particular formula in your notebook. So this formula is very, very important or useful for our further problem solution. That is thermal stress is equal to alpha into T into E. Also keep the two conditions in your mind. Bar is free to expand and bar is totally constrained. And how thermal stress will be developed, that we have understood by using the previous two figures. Okay. Now, so this is about all the important theoretical parts, all the important formulas, whatever we have discussed, that all the formulas are very, very important for solving the numericals based on the 1 mark or the 2 mark questions. Now, which types of problems are asked in the examination? On which topic they have given more focus? So the first type is stress and strain. That is calculation of stress and strain. Based on that, the problems will be asked. Then deformation calculation. Either we have to calculate deformation due to the external load load or deformation due to the self-weight. Then problems based on the stress strain curve in the morning, whatever we have discussed, all the important points related to the stress strain diagram for the ductile material and the stress strain diagram for the brittle material, that all the points, the theoretical points are important, based on which the problems will be asked. Then fourth type is calculation of volumetric stress, volumetric strain, and change in volume. Based on this also, the questions will be asked. Then fifth, thermal stress calculation. Just now only we have discussed about the thermal stress formula, alpha into T into E. Based on that also, some numericals are there. Then elastic constant, capital E, capital G, or capital K, and Poisson's ratio mu. We are having the three relations. E is equal to 3K in bracket 1 minus 2 mu. E is equal to 2G in bracket 1 plus mu. And E is equal to 9 kg divided by 3K plus G. So like that, three relations we are having. Based on these three relations, questions will be asked. And last, the Poisson's ratio. Sometimes they have asked to find out the Poisson's ratio also. And based on this, the 1 marks question will be asked for your GATE examination, IES, IAS, SSC, staff selection, junior engineering, etc. Means for your GATE examinations as well as whatever the number of competitive examinations are there, based on this, such types of the numericals, or based on this particular chapter number 1, these are the 7 points which are important. You have to study, or we have to solve the numericals based on this particular 7 types. So this is about all the theoretical points, all the important formulas we have discussed. Now, whatever the things we have discussed, whatever the problems, whatever the formulas I have explained, whatever the definitions I have told, based on this or by taking the reference of this, now we have to solve some of the sample numericals which will be asked, or whatever asked in the examination that we are going to discuss. Okay, so this is the problem number 1. So just I will read the problem. You just need to understand the statement of the problem. We have to remind the tricks by using which trick I have to go for the final solution. Now let us see. In the engineering stress strain curve for the mild steel, the ultimate tensile strength, that is UTS, ultimate tensile strength, refers to. In the morning only we have discussed about the stress strain curve for the ductile material, maybe for the mild steel, and in that one point is there which is called as a ultimate tensile strain, that is UTS. That UTS refers to yield stress, proportional limit, maximum stress, or the fracture stress. So for that purpose, here it is necessary to remind our stress strain curve. This diagram should be in front of you immediately. So also we can draw a rough diagram immediately, that point A is there, point B is there, point C is there, point D is there, and point E is there. And in that ultimate tensile strength, which point is called as the ultimate tensile strain? So you can see here I have written point D will be considered as a ultimate tensile strength. And that UTS, ultimate tensile strength, it is also called as a ultimate stress point. It is also called as a ultimate stress point, and that point refers to yield stress, proportional limit, maximum stress, and the fracture stress. So out of this particular 4 options, which option will be correct? So that we have to understood. Now here you can see, here they have mentioned the yield stress. Here they have mentioned the yield stress, but there are 2 types of the yield stress. One is the upper yield point and another is a lower yield point. For example, point B is called as a upper yield point, or point C is called as a lower yield point. But which yield point we have to consider? Either point B we have to consider, or either point C we have to consider. Here I am in confusion. Then proportional limit. At point A, it refers the Hooke's law, that is stress is directly proportional to the strain. But at this particular point A, there is no chance, that is the maximum, or there is no any chance to develop the ultimate tensile strain at this particular point. Then maximum stress. So where the maximum stress is there, I know in case of a ductile material, the upper yield point will be considered as a maximum stress point. In the morning, we have discussed the upper yield point. Which is the upper yield point? Point B is called as a upper yield point. That point B will be considered as a maximum stress point. In addition to that, point D is also considered as a maximum stress point. Point B is also maximum stress point. Point D is also maximum strain. But at point D, the nick formation is taking place. Point D la आपल्याला deformation झालेलं दिसतंय. That's why we are not considering in actual application the D as a maximum stress point. Okay, so this maximum stress point and point D, F, fracture stress, UTS is not taking place at point E. So this is that means option, we have to choose either option A or either option C. But A is not applicable. Why? Because here they have mentioned only yield stress. Be specific if they are mentioning. Be specific if they are mentioning upper yield point, then lower yield point, then and then only there is a possibility of find out the maximum stress value. But I know that is point B and point D are called as a maximum stress point. But what is the difference? At point B, the maximum stress will be taking place without any deformation, and at point D, the maximum stress will be developed with some amount of deformation or the nick formation. Therefore, in engineering stress strain curve for the mild steel, the ultimate tensile strength refers to ultimate tensile strength ला आपण yield stress पण म्हणू शकत नाही, proportional limit पण म्हणू शकत नाही, fracture limit पण म्हणू शकत नाही किंवा fracture stress पण म्हणू शकत नाही. तर that ultimate stress point will be considered as a maximum stress point. Therefore, option C is the correct option. So please keep in mind, the ultimate stress is considered as a maximum stress point also, but in actual application, this is not a maximum stress point because deformation is taking place. But here the question is asked in somewhat confusion type that whether ultimate stress point is called as a yield stress, whether ultimate stress point is called as a proportional limit, whether ultimate stress point is called as a maximum stress, or whether ultimate stress point is called as a fracture stress. But out of that four options, C will be the correct because it will be the maximum stress. No problem, deformation is visible at point D, nick formation is visible at point D, but this will be the maximum stress point. So for that purpose, we need to imagine the stress strain diagram for the ductile material. Then and then only you will be able to give the correct answer. So the point C will be the correct, that is UTS refers to maximum stress point. So this is the problem number 1. Now next. So now I request all of you, please be ready with your calculator, with your notebook. If you are able to give the answer, immediately you can solve the answer and send that final answer in the chat box. So we will verify that particular answer and then we will move forward. So once I will represent any new problem here, try to understand the things, try to understand that particular problem by reminding the basic formulas. If you are able to give the answer, immediately solve it and send me the answer. Okay. Now the second problem is in front of you. Just read, I will read the statement. A rod subjected to uniaxial load with linear elastic limit. One rod is there, it is subjected to the uniaxial load. Uniaxial means it is applied along the axis. Whatever the load is applied, it is applied along the axis, full stop. When the change in the stress is 20 megapascal. When the change in the stress is 20 megapascal, the change in strain is 0.001. Strain is the unitless quantity. Okay, strain is unitless quantity. Therefore, 0.001 is the strain value. Stress 200 megapascal. Full stop. If Poisson's ratio of the rod is 0.3. If Poisson's ratio, that is mu, is equal to 0.3, the modulus of rigidity in GPa is, then we have to calculate the modulus of rigidity, which is called as a capital G, or it is also called as a capital C. So which parameter we have to calculate? That is modulus of rigidity. Then how to calculate? So for that purpose here, we need to understand the relation between all the elastic constant. Here we need to understand the relation between all the elastic constants. So we are having the total three relations. E is equal to 3k in bracket 1 minus 2 mu. E is equal to 2g in bracket 1 plus mu. And E is equal to 9 kg divided by 3k plus g. So these are the three relations. But if you look at the formula here, or the problem here, one rod is there and that rod is subjected to the uniaxial load. Load value they have not mentioned. Please see here. The load value they have not mentioned, only they have given uniaxial load is applied. And due to that load, the stress value is 200 megapascal and strain value is 0.001. Now please tell me whether this stress and strain is linear stress, linear strain, shear stress, shear strain, or volumetric stress, volumetric strain. You can represent your answer in the chat box whether developed stress will be the linear, shear, or volumetric. Yes, linear. One student has represented. Another. Whatever the uniaxial load is applied. Uniaxial means load is applied along the axis. Load is applied along the axis. If load is applied along the axis, then whatever the stress will be developed, that stress is called as a linear stress and that strain is called as a linear strain. Please keep in mind that stress is called as a linear stress and strain is called as a linear strain. Now please tell me, if I will take the ratio of linear stress upon linear strain, for which elastic constant this definition is applicable? Linear stress upon linear strain is applicable for capital E, capital G, or capital K? Yes, capital E. Any another answer? Linear stress upon linear strain is called as a modulus of elasticity or Young's modulus. Yes, correct, capital E. So here I can calculate the capital E, means E value I can calculate very easily. Mu value is given, then and I have to calculate the modulus of rigidity. Then which relation I have to use? Whether relation between EG or relation between E and K. Which relation I have to use? E and G or E and K? Yes, E and G. One student has represented. Any another answer? E and G or E and K? Yes, E and G. So we are having that relation E is equal to 2G in bracket 1 plus mu. So this relation I have to use for the calculation of G. Because if I have to use this particular relation for further calculation, then G is the unknown parameter. Okay, mu is given, but E is not given. But to calculate this particular E value, the stress value and strain value is already mentioned. So now calculate the value of E first. So E is equal to stress upon strain. What is the value of E? What is the value of E? Stress upon strain. Do the calculations and tell me the value of E, or you can represent in the chat box. 200 megapascal is equal to 200 Newton per mm square. Divided by 0.001, then you will get the value of E. What is the value of E? Do the calculation. (200 gigapascal). This is the final answer. But what is the value of E? For E, you have mentioned what is the Young's modulus value? What is the Young's modulus value? Please do the calculations. Put the Young's modulus value in this particular relation. Then you will get yes 200 into 10 raised to 6. Okay. Then put that particular E value in this particular relation. E is equal to 2G in bracket 1 plus mu, and you will get the value of G. You will get the value of G. So what is the value of G? Once you will get the E value, put that value in the relation E is equal to 2G in bracket 1 plus mu, and then tell me the value of G, that is modulus of rigidity. What is the value of modulus of rigidity? Yes, 76.92 into 10 raised to 6 Newton per mm square. I will represent the final answer, that is 76.9 gigapascal. Correct. 1 gigapascal is equal to 10 raised to 6 Newton per mm square. You will get the answer initially in Newton per mm square by removing that 10 raised to 6 from the given answer. I will write the final value 76.9 gigapascal. This is the value of modulus of rigidity. And such types of the problems will be asked for the 2 marks in GATE examination. Please keep in mind, if you are able to read the statement carefully, by understanding that particular statement, given parameters carefully, and by using the proper relations between all the elastic constant, within 1 or 2 minutes, you are able to give the answer. By putting the values in the relation, you will get the final answer. Please check 76.9 gigapascal. This is the value of modulus of rigidity. Everyone, please do the calculation. First of all, find out the Young's modulus E by the ratio of stress upon strain. Then that value you have to put in the relation of EG, and finally you will get the answer as a G 76.9 into 10 raised to 6 Newton per mm square. But if I will eliminate this 10 raised to 6, your answer becomes 76.9 gigapascal. So this will be the final answer. Okay. Now, here, one more problem. Just read the statement carefully. If Poisson's ratio of an elastic material is 0.4, Poisson's ratio of material is 0.4, the ratio of modulus of rigidity to Young's modulus is. The ratio of modulus of rigidity to Young's modulus E, that means G upon E. So here, such types of the facilities are given in the examination, that is dash dash. Here some one calculator will be given to type your answer. You have to type the final answer here, and automatically that answer will be recorded. In the previous problem, if you look at here dashed lines is given. So you have to do the calculation, rough calculation you have to do, and finally you have to enter the answer directly in this particular dotted lines or in this particular blank row. Here some calculator facilities or some typing facilities are given to you. You have to do the rough calculation, and final answer you have to type by using this particular structure, and you have to enter your answer. Now what they have given here, Poisson's ratio is given 0.4, and the ratio of modulus of rigidity to E, that means G upon E, they have asked. So here once again, if I have to calculate the G upon E, therefore once again I have to use this relation. E is equal to 2G in bracket 1 plus mu. E is equal to 2G in bracket 1 plus mu. Only Poisson's ratio is given, and they have asked to find out the ratio of G upon E. We have to find out the ratio of G upon E. So for that purpose, what I have to do? I have to rearrange this particular relation in the form of G upon E. So what I will do? This E I will take to the right side, it becomes divided by E. Okay, this 2 into 1 plus mu. It is present at the right side. If I will take to the left side, it becomes divide. Correct? If I will write here G upon E is equal to 1 upon 2 in bracket 1 plus mu. So like that, I have to write down the relation in the form of G upon E. Now put the value, 1 is the constant as it is, 2 is the constant as it is, in bracket 1 plus mu, that is 1 plus 0.4 into 2 and 1 divided by answer, you will get the ratio of G upon E. So what is the ratio? Please tell me, what will be the ratio? What is the ratio of G upon E? 0.208. Any another answer? 0.208. Rather than this, any another answer? 0.357. 0.357. 0.357. So that answer is repeated. So 0.208. Please check your answer. Do the calculations properly. Just I will represent the answer. 0.36. 0.36. 357. 0.357 means 0.36. That can be represented. And that answer simply you have to type 0.36 here and you have to submit your answer. So sometimes in such types of the problems, there is no any negative marking system. Whatever the objective type of questions are there, in that objective type of questions, there is a possibility of negative marking. But in such types of the problems, first of all, you have to do the rough calculation, and by using that rough calculation, we have to identify the final answer, and that final answer you have to type there and you have to submit the answer. So sometimes for such types of the problems, maybe 2 marks problems, there is no any negative marking, but whatever the objective type of questions are there, for that objective type of questions, there is a negative marking system. So I hope everyone has calculated and you got the answer like 0.357 means it will be represented as a 0.36. Simply you have to remind the relation of E and G, rearrange the terms, put the given values, and finally you have to do the calculation and you have to type the answer. That is 0.357 or 0.36. This is the correct answer. Okay, so this is the third problem we have discussed based on the relations of the elastic constants. Now here you have to identify the things or you have to match the pairs. So what they have mentioned, let us see. The stress strain curve for the mild steel shown in the figure given below. Choose the correct options referring to the both figures and the tables. Choose the correct options which are referring for the both figures and tables. If you look at to this particular curve, this curve is applicable for the ductile material. Maybe it is applicable for the mild steel, because in the brittle material only 2 points are there, proportional limit and directly fracture point. But here the number of points are present means it is ductile material. And what they have asked, so here whatever this particular portion is there which is represented by this particular circle, that whatever the number of points are present in this particular circle are represented here. That is point P is there, P is there, Q is there, R is there, and S is there. Point P, Q, R, S, and here T and S. So whatever the points are there in the circle that are represented here, P, Q, R, S, and then T and U. Now you have to identify or you have to match the pairs. You have to identify and you have to match the pairs. That is what P indicates, what Q indicates, what R indicates, what S indicates, what T indicates, and what U indicates. That is P, Q, R, S, T. So in front of P, out of this 1 to 6, which point is applicable? You have to write P-1, P-3, P-4. Then Q, for Q, which point is applicable? Out of 1 to 6, you have to write down that particular point. and you have to match the pairs. Now, let us see P. What is called as a P? What is meant by P? Out of 6, you have to represent the answer P dash. One by one we will go. P dash. For P, which is applicable 0.3. Let us see. Proportional limit. Correct. What about others? Elastic limit. No. Proportional limit. First point is called as a proportional limit. Please keep in mind. 3 is applicable. For P, 3 is applicable. Proportional limit. Within elastic limit, stress is directly proportional to strain. So P dash 3. Then for Q, which point is applicable? Q4. What is 4? Elastic limit. Correct. Please remind, point P and Q are very close to each other. Point P and Q are very close to each other. In the morning, we have discussed point A as a proportional limit, but in that elastic limit point is not mentioned. सकाळचा जो आपण कर्व स्टडी केला तर त्याच्यामध्ये इलास्टिक लिमिट पॉइंट हा त्यांनी दाखवला नव्हता, बट इट इज प्रेझेंट नियर टू द पॉइंट ए. सकाळच्या फिगर प्रमाणे पॉइंट ए च्या जवळ तो तुमचा इलास्टिक लिमिट पॉइंट असणार आहे. बट हियर इन दिस प्रॉब्लेम दे हॅव मेन्शन proportional limit separately and elastic limit separately. So P is called as a proportional limit, Q is called as a elastic limit. Point R, what is point R? R1, what is that? Upper yield point. Correct. Upper yield point. Correct. Then next point S. Point S. S5, what is that? Lower yield point. Correct. S5. Lower yield point, it is down. Then point T, what is the point T represents? T dash 2, what is 2? Ultimate tensile strength or ultimate stress point. Correct. And then point U, it is 6, that is failure or the breaking point. That means like that, total 6 points are there. According to that particular 6 points, we have mentioned their points. So here, these are the 4 options you have given. These are the 4 options you have given. They have given in the problem. Out of that, which option will be correct? Please choose correct one option, A, B, C, D. Out of A, B, C, D, which will be correct? Yes, A, B, C, D. C. Yes, C. C. Let us check. Yes, point C is the correct answer. That is P is the proportional limit, Q is the elastic limit, R is the upper yield point, S is the lower yield point, T is the ultimate tensile strength, and last U is called as a failure or the breaking point. So please check, this problem is asked for the 2 marks. So many times it is asked in the GATE examination as well as competitive examinations. If you remind the stress strain curve perfectly, then you are able to give the answer. In the morning, whatever the curve I have explained, in that the proportional limit and elastic limit, 2 points are not separately mentioned. Only they have represented the proportional limit. But please keep in mind, the proportional limit point and the elastic limit points are very, very close to each other. Therefore, sometimes it is mentioned in some of the graph, sometimes it is not mentioned in the sum of the graph. If it is mentioned, immediately you have to check that particular figure. If it is there, then you have to consider. If it is not there, then directly after the proportional limit, there is a possibility of upper yield point, lower yield point, tensile strength, ultimate tensile strength, and the fracture. But here they have mentioned proportional limit and the elastic limit separately. Therefore, that points also we have to consider in the matching pairs. So this is about the stress strain curve for the mild steel and their important points. Okay. Now read the statement carefully. Here, this is related to the thermal stress concept. Now here, we need to understand the statement first, and then we have to choose the correct option. Let us see. The steel cube with all faces free to deform. A cube is there. One cube means it is having the 3 dimensions. It is having the 3 dimensions. Length is also there, width is also there, and depth is also there. And all the faces are free to deform. That means in all the direction, deformation is taking place. Has Young's modulus E, Poisson's ratio mu, coefficient of thermal expansion alpha. Okay, full stop. The pressure or hydrostatic stress developed within the cube when it is subjected to the uniform increase in temperature delta T is given by. What they have given? One cube is there, means 3-dimensional cube is there. Their all faces are free to deform. That means in all the direction deformation is taking place. Okay, that cube is having the Young's modulus E, Poisson's ratio mu, and coefficient of thermal expansion alpha. And we have to calculate the pressure or hydrostatic stress, means it is called as a thermal stress. We have to calculate the pressure or hydrostatic stress or thermal stress developed within the cube when it is subjected to the uniform increase in temperature. That means if that cube comes in contact with the temperature, it will expand in all the 3 directions. Now please tell me how much amount of pressure, how much amount of stress, or how much amount of thermal stress will be developed. Please tell me the correct answer out of A, B, C, D. Tell me the correct answer out of A, B, C, D. Cube is free to expand due to the increase in temperature delta T. म्हणजे टेम्परेचर वाढल्यामुळे क्यूबचं एक्सपान्शन व्हायला लागलंय, डिफॉर्मेशन व्हायला लागलंय. Then how much amount of stress will be developed in the cube? Stress or hydrostatic stress or the pressure? Out of 4 options, which option will be the correct? That's why we have to understand the thermal stress condition. When thermal stresses are developed, when thermal stresses are not developed. When thermal stresses are developed, when thermal stresses are not developed. I will give the trick. What will be the thermal stress? Is it equal to 0, or is it equal to option B, option C, or option D? When thermal stresses are developed. That's why you need to read the statement carefully. The steel cube with all faces free to deform. All faces are free to deform due to the increase in temperature. Then what will be the stress? Which option will be correct? Just you can try your answer in the chat box. Then I will give the solution if you are wrong. Try to represent your answer in the chat box. Option A, B, C, D. 0. Okay. D. Okay. Am I audible now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So now I have asked one question. If body is free to deform, whether thermal stresses are developed in body, yes or no? If body is free to deform, the thermal stresses are developed in the body, yes or no? No, correct. It is very important. जर एक्सपान्शन होत असेल तर त्या ठिकाणी थर्मल स्ट्रेसेस डेव्हलप होणार नाहीत. जर एक्सपान्शन आपण टोटली रिस्ट्रिक्ट केला असेल, रिस्ट्रिक्शन थांबवलं असेल, then there is a possibility of thermal deformation. Now for this numerical, if you see here in the starting itself, a steel cube with all faces free to deform, all faces free to deform, that means in all the three direction the deformation of cube is taking place. That means I can say that the thermal expansion, thermal deformation is taking place in x direction, y direction and the z direction, but there is a thermal deformation, there is a strain development, but there is no any thermal stress. And what they have asked, the pressure or hydrostatic stress developed in the cube is equal to how much? For it is equal to 0. If this particular cube is fixed from all the sides, if that particular cube, if it is fixed from all the sides, then the thermal expansion is totally restricted. No deformation taking place in x direction, y direction and z direction. Then and then only there is a possibility of development of thermal stresses, hydrostatic stresses. But here all the faces are free to deform. Free to deform means it will get expand continuously. If temperature is increases, deformation is also increases, but there is only thermal deformation, there is only thermal expansion, but no stress will be developed. Therefore, out of the four options, the option A is correct. That is, whatever the pressure, whatever the hydrostatic stress will be developed in the cube, it is equal to 0. So for that purpose, I have told you, you need to understood the thermal stress condition. When thermal stress is developed, if there is a no deformation, total body is constrained. And when thermal stresses are not developed, if body is free to expand. If expansion होत असेल तर त्या ठिकाणी फक्त स्ट्रेनच असतो, there is no any stress value. Okay, so with this today we will stop here. I request all the students, please type your roll number along with division in chat box for your attendance. Type your roll number immediately along with your division and you can leave the meeting. Remaining all, please type your attendance immediately, then and then it will be recorded in the lecture. Otherwise, once I will end the meeting, it will not be recorded in the lecture. So type your roll number immediately along with your division and you can leave the meeting immediately. Those who are remaining, immediately type your roll number. Remaining students, Type your roll number immediately.